Here we are, back again. Smackdown of what are we smacking down? What's the race called?
Running is not closed.
Running is not closed. So, podcast guest, can't remember what name it was, but Kira Henninger put on this race series called Running is Not Closed when COVID came into the world. And she gave people the opportunity to race in a controlled environment. And that carried through for over a year and just jumped into her last race up in Orange County. And we're going to smack down how it went. How did it go?
It went well. I won.
You won your age group or you won?
Overall female and then second overall. So beat the dudes too. Except for one guy that was 40 minutes ahead of me. So nobody was gonna touch
Yeah,
him.
he was pretty legit.
Yeah.
Um
And Kira even said like before the start, he like showed up and she's like, nobody's gonna beat you today. He looks kind of crazy.
Well, you looked really good out there. So it was an early morning. Was it early morning? No, it wasn't too early. We just had to shoot up the road 30 minutes.
I think it started 6:45 was my start. And
Yeah.
we went up to Orange County. Yep.
What was the distance? Give us the deets.
18 miles, so 30K, which, whether that's exactly 18 miles, probably not. So that's just how trail running goes.
Not exact.
It's never exact. And any trail runner, anyone who has even a triathlete that has run a trail run knows that it's never what it is. And really, it's never what it is. It's never a 2.4 mile swim. It's never a 56-mile bike. It's never a 10K. I mean, maybe it is a 10K, maybe those smaller distances, but it
Well, with the,
depends on like,
yeah, I guess.
are
Yeah.
you hugging the corners? Are you running the tangents? I ran the tangents on this race for sure.
So do you want? Well, first, what was your longest run leading into this race, and how did you give us a quick synopsis of how you trained?
Yeah, well, I was coming off of injury or opportunity, I should say, but it wasn't like, weeks before. But it takes time to go from not running. This might blow people's minds, right? It takes time to go from not running to running and running at the intensity that I was running at for 30K. So we started, I would say back in December, I think I was running 15 seconds at a time, 45 seconds off, 15 seconds running, loved it. And I stayed there for a while, like a couple of weeks. And then we moved up to like 30 seconds and 30 off. And then it was like the 15 seconds on, 45 seconds off. And then maybe it was like a minute or two running. And it's just so cool, I think, when you're coming back from an opportunity in your body, when you're running 1 minute and you're just like, I don't even know what it's going to be like to run a mile. Like it's all brand new. We get so caught up in, I think, the just society that injury, that it's bad, that it's negative, and it's not. For me, it just means like, oh, this stuff's rising up to the surface. Awesome. I'm going to offer as little resistance as I possibly can and support it and love it and honor it and know that I'll get to the other side, because as I sit here living and breathing today, I have gotten to the other side of everything that has come my way in life, and so have you if you're listening to this and breathing right now. So leading up to this race, I mean, I thought that, yeah, I would get a 20-mile run in, at least a 15-mile run, and none of that happened. Everything was going really well. And I went to Costa Rica in April. And I even think even before I went to Costa Rica, like we did a 10-mile run one day up at Sycamore Canyon, and that went really well. Went to Costa Rica and was running on the beach. It was awesome. Felt really good. Did, 14 hours of yoga in a week. Felt really good. But when you dive deep, right? Like you dive deep on a yoga retreat. If you're on a yoga retreat with me, we are going not only under the surface, we're going to go under the surface. You dredge things up. And it was interesting because I came home from the retreat. I don't even know if I ever told you this, but my foot didn't feel good. And not the foot that was injured, just this opportunity I always have in my left ankle. It just felt extra stiff. But it wasn't lost on me that, I went really deep in this. I had been healing from a massive trauma that happened in February, and did a lot of processing on that trip, held a lot of space, right? So who knows, it might not even have been my energy or my healing that ignited what I was feeling in my foot. It could have been somebody else's, because there were some folks there on that retreat that were overcoming some pretty big things in life. And so yeah, it just felt crappy. So I rode my bike more and I swam a lot, did some really legit sessions and was feeling super fit in the pool. But I never got over 8 miles after that.
At
So
one time.
at
For
one
yeah.
time. But what we started to do, instead of being like, oh, well, I can go longer, so let's start going longer, it was a recipe that we've used in the past that has worked really well for me, is I go Saturday and Sunday. So not going out and running 16 miles, but running 16 miles in 24 hours. And the Saturday workout would be like 8 miles on the trails, math, whatever, feel good, push it, like nothing really prescribed. And then the Sunday session would be a track workout doing 800s. And so yeah, I would get, and I think the last weekend I got maybe 18 miles in over that Saturday and Sunday. But I don't worry too much about that, because like my first ultra marathon, my longest run was 14 miles. But the next day I did 11 miles, and the next day I did 5 miles. And so it's what do you always say? It's like duration, right? Like duration over time. Like,
Consistency over duration.
yeah. So I wasn't really concerned about that. I was just kind of like snickering at the cosmic joke that I have absolutely zero reason not to trust. And I remember even after coming back from Costa Rica, I was saying to you, like, I'm fit. I just need to get to the start line healthy. And that's what race day is for. Like, so even if I didn't run, if I was just healthy, like I would push the limits on that race day. I would see what my body, I would not hold back at all. Like all I needed to do is get there healthy. So to start pushing mileage that was going to risk me being, having more things show up in my body, it was better to, um, I wouldn't say like not test it, because I definitely tested it with those 800s, but it wasn't like, I was like, I have to do 10 800s. It was like, I'm going to do this 800. Oh, that felt really good. I'm going to do this 800. Oh, that felt really good. So what I say to you is like, what's the cap? And you'll say like 8 or 10 or 12 or whatever it is. And then I'm empowered to say, to be in relationship with my body, that it says like 6 feels amazing. Let's do 7, let's do 8, and watch that part of me that goes, I'm going to do 14, and just be like, you can say that all you want, but you're still on number 7. So do number 7.
Yeah, I think that's a really important part to your success, is having that self-regulation of, you don't have to chase numbers or mileage or duration. You just have to show up for each workout and be an active participant in it, so that you can make the decisions that are aligned with the end goal, which is to complete the 18K,
30K.
30K, 18 miles.
And knowing that voice, like that voice inside of me that's like, do 14, or go hard up this hill, or catch that lady in front of you. I love that voice. That's the voice of the ego. That's the competitiveness. That's the self-will. That is what's gotten us all to the finish line, you guys. It's not a bad part of us, but know it and make sure it knows its place. And its place was not to be in charge of me. Well, it's never to be in charge of me, but like its place was not to have dominance when I'm out there trying to get to a start line healthy, while gaining as much fitness as I possibly can leading into the race. So knowing that that voice it's not me, but it's this super fun part of me that always wants to like party and go hard and, race people and be competitive. And I love that part. It's not who I am. It's just a part of me. But that's what, mindset training is all about, is knowing that voice, knowing that it's just a part of you. But also knowing that makes a terrible, terrible master. Like you don't want that part of you calling the shots. You can empower it to drive you. That's so important. We need it as athletes. But when it's running the show, that's going to be, that's going to wreak havoc. You're going to have a line of carnage behind you. I speak from experience.
So how did the race go? So,
Yeah.
give us a lowdown. So we got your training. We know how you prepared for it. You met every opportunity with calm and clarity, and did what you could do, not focus on what you couldn't do, and showed up at this race. And how'd it go?
Yeah, it went well. It's a small race, very small race, less than 20 people racing. But I'm not going to take that away. Not going to dim my win because everybody had a chance to show up. It's just, it doesn't matter if it's 300 people, 5,000 people, 20 people, 5 people. If you're the only one in your age group and you get the age group win, like everybody had a chance to show up and you showed up. So I showed up that day and felt really good and calm and just excited to get back to the trail. And so we started, and right off the bat, there was a group that pulled off ahead. And I took stock in who those people were, and there was 3 women in that group. So I was 4th female at that point. And I had a lot of dialogue in my head, like, they're going out way too hard. I know that there's the majority of the people that I'm seeing pull away right now are running out of their fitness level. Like they're running a pace they're not going to be able to sustain. Stay patient. Just do your race. Then there's that other part that goes, 4th is good. 4th is good. If I could just hold 4th is good. Then there was the other part that was like, you can catch those people. And then there's the other part that's like, stay patient. Right? That part was just like, stay patient. Let them go. Let them go. Who cares? They get 10 miles ahead of you and you never catch them. Who cares? Run your own race. And I knew there was people behind me as well. So they were always kind of in my sights. They were pulling away, pulling away, pulling away. A guy that was behind me passed me, and I felt like this, like, I don't like this at all. And then the other voice that maybe I'm alone in this. I don't know if other people have multiple voices in their heads, but I do. And then the other voice that's like, it doesn't matter if you're DFL, like just go run your race and have fun. So at about mile 3, 4, there's a straight out and back on this course. And then when this group was coming back at me, I saw that people were already falling off. It was already starting to spread out. The girl that was in the lead had fallen to second, and second had gone into first. So I was like, okay, so second's already slowing down. Third had fallen way back. So I was like, okay. So I'm just getting like lay of the land. And then we hit the trail and we start climbing, and there was an aid station right there, and people are already like hanging out at the aid station. I mean, I understand this. It was described in the race description as, you can be as competitive as you want. Like you can make this a fun run, right? Like it's just fun. But if I hear race, like I want to be as competitive as I possibly can. Like I don't know. I like that part a lot. And so people were hanging out at the aid station. So I passed 2 people just because they were at the aid station. And I felt really good. So I was running up this hill and people were walking. And then when my heart rate got really, really high, I stopped and I just power hiked. But, kept going. Then we get to, I would say it was probably around mile 6.5. Yeah, mile 6.5. And I get to this ridge line, and I look, and the 3rd place woman's like right there. So I was like, oh, that's interesting. Okay, I can catch her. And then I can see on the next peak is the 2nd place woman. And I was like, that's cool. Okay. So let me just deal with what's in front of me right now, the 3rd place woman. So what I'm going to do at mile 6.5 of an 18-mile race is I'm going to observe. I'm going to watch. I don't need to pass anybody yet. I'm going to run when she runs. I'm already running faster than her because I'm starting to catch her. I'm going to run when she runs. I'm going to watch when she walks. So we start going up this hill and she starts walking. And then let's say there's like a fence, maybe 100 yards ahead of her. I'm like, I'm going to run to the fence. She stopped and started walking, but I'm going to go that 100 yards more and see what kind of gain that gives me. And then I'm starting to get closer to her and closer to her. It's a pretty steep climb. And now I'm like right behind her. And I wanted to make a pass that, for the lack of a better expression, would make her mentally crumble, that she knew that she would never be able to pass me again. And my opportunity was on a super steep part of this uphill. And I was like, I feel really good, so I'm going to do it. And I passed her and I crusted over and I hammered down the other side. Because I just, by the time she got to the top, I wanted her to see that I was already long gone.
Mm.
So that worked quite effectively. Now I'm coming up on second place and she's getting closer because of that surge I just did. And I'm thinking, I'm going to watch and I'm going to observe her. But she's slowing way down and I'm just catching her even by running a comfortable pace. And again, a situation where it's not opportune what I would have planned to pass her, but it was right there and I had to take the chance to do it. So this is like the second match I'm burning and I'm not even halfway through the race, but I'm like, I'm going to take this risk. I'm going to burn these matches and I'm going to see what I've got. I know beyond doubt, I've got the strongest mind in this field. I like you guys to show up to a race, thousands of people, 500 people, 20 people, and say, I have the strongest mind in this field. I know I do, like beyond doubt. That is such a secret weapon.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that amazing?
Superpower.
And so the way I articulate things can come off very egoically. This is not lost on me. This has been my whole life. But when I say that, I don't mean because they're less than me. I'm just saying that for the last 10 years, I've trained my mind every single day. And it's so cool to show up. Just like anybody that shows up and goes, I am so fit right now, right? I'm so mentally fit. So in opportune time, I was like, all right, I'm going to take another match out of the match book and I'm going to burn it. And again, wanted to pass her in a sense. And I could see she like looked at me a couple times. Like, I think she wanted to try and fight for her spot.
Go.
Yeah, I think she wanted to fight for her spot. And just, it was up over this thing and down. And I just hammered. And again, like left her where she wouldn't feel like she would be able to catch me. And then it was like, okay, second place is good. I'll take second place. Second place is good. I don't know where first place is. Hadn't seen her at all. And there was no doubt that this girl was a stronger runner. She was a stronger runner than me right from the start. And I was watching her. She pulled away from me right at the beginning, like, oh, she's got really strong legs. And lo and behold, I would say around mile 8, there she is. I turn a corner and there she is. And I was like, oh my God, that's first place. So I'm like, all right, so it's an out and back and I'm going to the turnaround. I'm like, I don't need to pass her at all right now. Like I can pass her after the turnaround. There's no need. So I'm just going to observe her. She doesn't know I'm here. I'm just going to observe her. So when she walked, I walked. When she ran, I ran. And I was watching her pace and I was watching, but what I observed was there was a lot going on up here.
How did you know that?
Because she had her phone and she had headphones and she was like swiping for songs and she was holding her water bottle and holding her phone. And I was like, that just seems chaotic. And she was like looking up and then she looked down at the phone. And then at one point she turned around and saw me. And then she turned around and saw me again, like, oh, hold on a second. And so I could just tell she was just in her head. The other thing that was happening was people were having a tough time with the heat. It was getting hot. And so as I passed guys, they were like, whoa, it's getting really hot out here. It's getting really hot out here. And I was like, it's great. I mean, you just can't indulge that stuff. Like what are we going to do? And of course we have the mantra that I am the heat. I'm not separate from the heat. And as soon as I believe that I'm separate from the heat, I suffer because I believe that I'm being victimized by the heat. So I am the heat. Why not? I'm the heat. I'm the cold. I'm the hill. I'm the trail. I'm the girl with the busy mind in front of me. Like, we're all one. Yeah. So she was still putting in a pretty good pace. And after she saw me, she started running up this hill. And I was like, oh, I think she's burning matches she doesn't have. So I watched her and I let her actually pull away a little bit and go around a corner. And I was like, I got plenty of time. Like I've caught her here in 8 miles. I got plenty of time and I've got plenty of gears left. And so I let her go around that corner. I go up, I go around the corner and she stopped and she's talking to the race director. And I'm like, here it is, go.
Opportunity.
Yeah, like here it is. And I'd just come up this climb. So my heart rate was high, but it was fine. So I just flew past her. like really turned it on, and it was a downhill to the turnaround, and just went as hard as I could on that downhill, and just thought, like, if she was concerned about first place, like, you wouldn't be stopping to talk to somebody. But I
You don't
don't know.
know.
That
Yeah.
might have made sense. Got to the aid station. There was a guy at the aid station who was like drinking and eating, and the girl was like, "What do you need?" And I'm like, "Gel, water." And then I got out of there, and I realized that that guy was the second place overall. And so so then and now I got to run back uphill, and I'm like, I'm going to go as hard as I can, because when these girls are coming down, I want to have as much space as
Mm-hmm.
possible. Now, I think I've been in the lead of a race once before, and it was a long time ago. So, my strategy was, I don't know, it was developed in the moment, and I felt really good and strong. So why not, right? Isn't that what race day is for, is to see what you've got? So it was a long uphill, and Pat, they were coming in. They weren't that far behind me, second and third. They weren't that far behind me. So I crushed the hill. Like, went as hard as I could. I ran the whole thing. It was not easy to do that. Came around the corner, and then I turned around. Nobody was on the hill. And then I kept going, and I just kept pushing, 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 pushing. And I got to this other ridge, and I looked, and I saw the second place guy coming, and he looked like he was going pretty good. And I was like, "Oh, I want to, like, I've got first place female. I got like 7 miles to go. I want second overall." So, and I just kept going, going. And I loved that he was there, because that feeling of being chased is
Mm-hmm.
kind of fun too. And then I also realized that when you're in the lead, like, you got to watch the markers. Like,
Oh
you
yeah,
got
you
to
know the
stay, you
course.
got to
Yeah.
stay on course. And that's it. I mean, that was kind of it, you guys. I stayed on top of nutrition. It was, it was salt, it was water, it was Roctane, it was gels. Like, I took in 4 gels and 2 bottles of Roctane over the course of this 30K, which
How long did it take you?
3 hours and
20 minutes?
19
Yeah.
minutes. Yeah. And just kept, pushing, pushing past some of the people who were still heading out to the turnaround. And yeah, won. So it was fun. And then the second guy,
Place
the
guy.
second place guy came in, and he was like, "I tried to catch you." He's like, "I saw you. I tried to catch you, and I
I couldn't.
couldn't catch you." And also another part that really gave me a good boost was this mountain biker. It was on this climb. And again, I was feeling strong. Like, I guess I could say I was feeling good, but nothing feels good about running uphill on a hot day with no shade, right? But it can feel powerful, and you can feel strong, and it can feel exciting. So I felt all those things. And this mountain biker was like, "I saw you." He passed me, and he said, "I saw you. I've been trying to catch you, and I'm on a bike." And I was like, "Oh, that's awesome. I love that. It was fun." Yeah. And so that was super cool. And I pushed it all the way, because you just never know what's going to happen. I pushed every
Mm-hmm.
downhill, I pushed every uphill, because at that point, I wanted you to see how fast I could do it. So that was it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
And it all would have not been possible if you just stopped when you had injury, or
Oh, yeah.
you're just settling for a certain place, right? And that this is it. This is what we do here. We keep momentum moving forward, because you want to be in that position to make a decision that's going to, be above and beyond anything that you can expect.
Yeah, I didn't. Well, it's funny. You were saying leading into it, you're like, "You're going to win." Remember, you were
I
like,
know.
"You're going to win."
I did say that.
And I was like, of course I have a chance. I have a chance to win any race I'm in. I'm like, "Yeah, we'll see. We'll see." But I didn't go into it like, "I'm going to win. Oh my God, I'm so
Right.
nervous." Like, it was just, I think with time, that kind of, those race day angst, like the kind of angst that doesn't serve you well, I just don't have
Sort of
that
falls away.
anymore. It just
Yeah.
falls away, because you spend so much time attuning yourself to calmness, that that becomes the dominant piece. And calmness is not, like, it's not laziness. It's not uh, doing nothing. Like, as our teacher says, like, when you're calm, you're invincible.
I like that.
Yeah. Like, don't you want to be invincible? I want to be invincible.
I am invincible.
I, I love that. Calmness is great. I've been on the other side. I've been, the raging fire that takes people down. And now I get to use that fire from a base of calm as opposed to a base of chaos and complaint and dissatisfaction. You use that fire, that drive, that motivation, and the ego in a way that, it becomes your teammate. So pretty cool.
It's very cool.
Yeah, it was fun. And then we went right to the smoothie bowl place and refueled and ate tons of veggies that night.
Yeah. Celebrated.
My quads were wrecked for like 3 days.
So that's what happens when you
only run.
That's the one thing with not doing training, specific training of hill. Like ideally, yes, would have had Jess go up and down hills and, begin to have her quads and legs adapt to the pounding that they'll get on the race course. But that's just not how it was. And so we had to bank on what we did have. And that was, the time leading up to the race. We had to make the best use of it. And we got a lot of stuff. We got a lot of fitness and strength through swimming and biking. And those allowed for the legs to recover, to be healthy and strong for the race and not have to tax them as much. But yeah, obviously, I think some hills would have been beneficial, but it wasn't part of the recipe. And so it can be done many different ways. It can take many different forms. So there's not one right or wrong way. The key is to show up on race day and be healthy, to give yourself the chance for something like an overall win.
And if you're fit, it doesn't matter where you get your fitness. I was getting a lot of fitness from the pool. I was getting a lot of fitness from those sick workouts we were doing in the pool as these guys were leading up to Ironman Coeur d'Alene. And then getting a lot of fitness, doing 3.5 hour bikes on the weekend, as opposed to a 3.5 hour run, but still running consistently. So I had the fitness, just my quads weren't quite prepared for the slamming that they received.
The pounding.
Yeah. So they were ripped, but that was it. I felt really, really good otherwise. Yeah. So thanks, coach.
Yeah. So proud of you. Not surprised.
Yeah. I'm not surprised either.
All right.
All right.
That's
Let us know what you think. Let us know if you have any
questions below.
All right. Peace.